The iPhone XR launched in 2018, making it over 2 years old, and yet it's still one of the most popular iPhones being sold in 2021, and that's not a bad thing by any means. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91Tech, and the iPhone XR straight up is about $500, a solid price for a solid phone. But is it really worth buying? To answer the question straight out of the gate, yep, the iPhone XR is worth buying. However, I do believe the iPhone 11 is more worth buying, for only $100 more. It brings an ultra-wide camera as well as better specs, two features I think are worth paying a bit more for. That being said, the iPhone XR is still absolutely worth the price of admission at $500, and I think the vast majority of buyers will be more than satisfied with it. It's fast, it has a nice large display, the camera is good, and all in all, there's not much to complain about. Going to this phone from an older iPhone like a 6S or a 7, for example, feels like a real upgrade. The battery life will be a major improvement for sure, but you're also getting the full screen design with the notch and Face ID. So should you buy the iPhone XR? Of course, that's up to you. I recommend the iPhone 11, but the XR is still absolutely worth it. So to help you make up your mind, let's back up here and start with the design of the iPhone XR. The iPhone XR has a glass front and back, sandwiching an aluminum frame, and considering this was meant to be the cheap option when it came out, the build is very premium feeling. It's helped further by the IP67 water and dust resistance as well as wireless charging. It debatably isn't the most premium looking, depending on whether or not you're a fan of having many colors, and man does the XR ever have a lot of colors. White and black if you're boring, I kid of course, and you also have blue, yellow, coral, and red. The one I have here is coral. Actually, my brother is using this phone now. I really love this color. It's super unique and one of my favorites of all time as far as iPhones go. From the front, the iPhone XR looks pretty similar to nearly any other newer iPhone with a notch and near bezel-less display. There's of course no home button, so to navigate you'll be using the gesture system, and you have Face ID to unlock your phone. The display itself is 6.1 inches, which in my opinion is a great size, although the screen is probably where you'll hear the most complaints from tech enthusiasts. The resolution is only a bit above 720p, and it is LCD, which means colors won't be as vibrant and everything just isn't as sharp as, say, the $800 iPhone 12. That being said, the screen still looks good. For the vast majority of people, it'll more than do the job, and I doubt most will have many complaints. Although if you're coming from an Android with an OLED panel, you might want to go to the iPhone 12, as this will be a bit of a downgrade. But I think everything looks sharp enough, and I really don't see the display as too huge a downside, although it is the biggest flaw of this phone without a doubt. For the average user, you're not going to notice, and the fact that that's the biggest flaw I think speaks really well to how great this phone is. The XR can feel a bit chunky, but the battery life makes it worth it. This phone should more than last you the day. If you're buying used, of course, it varies depending on how much it's been used in the past, but if you get the battery replaced or you do buy the XR brand new, it shouldn't give you any problems. On the back we have a single camera lens, unlike the iPhone 11 which has two. The iPhone 11 brought an ultra-wide lens as well as the regular wide, and it also takes better photos as well as night mode photos. If you're someone who wants a strong camera, I highly recommend going to the iPhone 11. Not that the XR is bad by any means, because it isn't. The camera is 12 megapixels and pictures still look quite good from it, and we do also have the ability to take portrait photos just like newer iPhones. As you can see from examples here, the XR can take some great shots as long as you have good lighting, and video is great as well with up to 4K 60 recording capabilities. The selfie camera is okay at 7 megapixels. There's not much to say here. It'll do a fine job for Zoom or FaceTime or Snapchat or whatever the kids are using these days. The iPhone 11 did upgrade it to 12 megapixels, and that is a pretty significant improvement, so if you're someone who loves taking pictures of themselves, the iPhone 11 is probably the phone to get. Overall, the iPhone XR camera isn't a concern for me. The big thing is that you are getting a fairly significant upgrade in that department with the iPhone 11, as well as, of course, the minor spec bump, and so again, that's the phone I would generally recommend. But if you don't care or think the XR will do you just fine, then that's totally cool, as it does really hold up well. And the biggest reason it holds up so well is thanks to its great tech specs with the A12 chipset and 3 GB of RAM. It runs iOS 14 like a champ, and I have no doubt it'll be just as good on 15. You can do anything on this phone, any game, any app, whatever it is you want to do. It's going to feel smooth and almost to the point of what an expensive flagship phone can provide. And yet, it's pretty much mid-tier when it comes to iPhones. Apple has really been pushing the limits of smartphone processors as of late, and the XR is no exception. It performs really strongly, especially for a 3-year-old phone, and it should continue to be that way for the foreseeable future. Because it's still being sold and came out in only 2018, I would guesstimate that it has at least least 2 to 3 years of updates, if not even possibly more. It's tough to say just how long it'll get, but we're at the point that I really don't think it'll ever feel slow. Hopefully I'm not proven wrong in the next couple years, but I wouldn't worry too much about longevity when it comes to the iPhone XR. And I'm not going to waste too much of your time here talking about every single little aspect of the iPhone XR. The XR is great. It's worth the $500 or whatever you'll end up paying for it. And if you would rather not pay extra for the iPhone 11, it's going to do the job and it's going to do it well. I do think there's some potential for some regret down the line because the iPhone 11's camera really is worth that extra $100 in my opinion, as well as likely another year in software support, but I don't think I've talked to a single XR user who've actually regretted their purchase. Assuming you're not someone who really appreciates a good display, because again the XR is at best mediocre in that department. It's good enough for most people. Your average Joe won't even notice that it's lower quality than better phones. But again, yeah, assuming you're not someone who really needs a good display, the iPhone XR is one of the best phones for anybody, and I absolutely still recommend buying it in 2021. And of course, you can always turn to the used market as well. Prices vary, but going to ebay.com, I find the XR to cost around $300 to $400, somewhere in that area, which is not amazing considering you can find it for $500 brand new. It's really up to you. If you can find a good deal for a XR, I'd say it's worth it used. Just keep in mind battery life may not be as great as it could be. It's really up to you, but overall the iPhone XR, great phone, fully recommend it. Considering it is approaching 3 years old at this point, it holds up really well. So hopefully that helped you out, and if it did, make sure you hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at 91_tech if you'd like to for some reason, and we do have a Discord server if you're into tech. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.